Hi, I wanted to make a bit more advanced playlist. I was starting with the basics. This is probably a couple steps above that, as in I'll finish doing all the basic videos, all the things with part design, um, and some things with surface design as well. This is probably past that. I say probably because design theory is an idea, a concept about how you build your parts. You could learn this right off the bat, and that would be great. You could learn it in the middle, you could learn it at the end. Um, uh, but you really get a handle on it or accept it, maybe is the right word, after you've been working with CATIA for a while. This has to do with how you build things, not like what do you do with a pad, what do you do with a wireframe surface, and how do you build off of it. This is how you structure. If you look at my mouse here, how do you structure the tree? How do you choose what to build first before another? How do you choose whether or not you should build off of a plane, or should you build off the surface that say is here because of a pad that you made? Those kinds of things. Also, should you name the things in the tree? Should you name every single thing in the tree, or should you just name some of the things in the tree? Why would you want to do that? And again, that's the kind of thing you're not really going to, again, accept is probably the perfect word for that. You're not going to accept it until you've been designing a lot of things, almost professionally, as it's part of your job day to day. You start making a thing, you make it, it works, you're done with it. If you come back to a part that you've made before, this is another place where you'll start to accept it even more. You open up something that you did a few months earlier, and let's say it's large. So far in, depending upon, when you're watching these videos, right, as of right now, I've only been doing a lot of the basic videos. If you've just gone through those, you only see a few things over here in your tree. You don't see a lot of stuff. In a real life part, this tree gets huge really quick. And so anyway, say you made an actual part, you come back later, you stare at it a while. It's almost like working with code. You open it up, and it takes you a while to figure out what the hell you were thinking before when you made it. There's a thing in parametric modeling in 3D engineering programs about parent and children. The idea there is that you create something. For example, you create a sketch, and then you pad the sketch, and then on top of that part you build another thing, and on top of that element, I didn't want to say part, on top of that element you build another thing, on top of that one you build another thing, and so on. If you were to, say, for example, delete the bottom one, everything else that was built on top of it would delete. All those other things are children of the original parent, right? So it makes pretty good sense. How you build stuff creates that parent-child link. And then there's another good word, links. What is linked to another thing, so on and so forth. This is all the stuff, and much more, that is falls under what I call design theory. A lot of people say designing for manufacturing. They'll say design intent. I'm creating a bigger umbrella here. How do you design properly so you yourself in the future, your colleagues, anybody you're going to be sending this to, they can open it up and really easily look at your model, see how it's put together, and modify and edit it without the whole thing exploding. All right, then, so getting down to business, the first one in this playlist series of videos is going to be geometrical sets. I'm hoping that as you go through this and you try to use it, force yourself to follow these practices, you will become, well, one, a better designer, but you'll be a lot happier with yourself in the future. The future you will not be pissed off at the past you for creating things in stupid ways. So geometrical sets are up here, so I'll just go ahead and insert one. A geometrical set looks like this. You open it and you say, what do you want to call it? Of course, it's a great thing to name it properly, but if you just hit OK, it will go into the tree as geometrical set number 1. So, what's the difference between all these different things? In previous videos, I've called these things folders, and I'd kind of like to continue going with that because it really helps, I think, especially for people that are new, to understand what's happening here. We have a thing called a part body, and per the definition in some manual somewhere, it has certain abilities and qualities, and you say, oh, that's a part body. Oh, well, that's a geometrical set. Oh, hey, this other thing, that's an ordered geometrical set. Well, if we just call them folders, it helps to say that, there's stuff that's going to go in this folder, there's stuff that's going to go in this folder, there's certain things that can go in this that cannot go in this folder. All right? So, real simply, part bodies here, the thing with the kind of teal-looking gear, they're reserved, I don't know. They are for solid modeling and well, anything really, almost anything, I guess you'd say. Sketches, all the different types of dress-up features, all the stuff that you can do with that, points, lines, planes, right, so on. Geometrical sets, on the other hand, you can only put, let's say, maybe reference geometry like points, lines, and planes. You can also put sketches in here. You cannot put solid geometry inside of a geometrical set. Okay, so part bodies here, these ones with the green gear, I can put anything in. Geometrical sets, I can put some things in. So then the point or the thought becomes, okay, so what you're telling me is this is a video about how to use a thing that isn't as good as this other thing. Why the hell would I want to use this? I think to answer that question best, we're going to have to just start using it. What I can tell you right off the bat is just simply from organization, it's a great thing. So if you had watched, for example, the multi-section solid video, we created a multi-section solid over here, a loft tool. It requires a handful of planes to be created for you to use it. All right. Well, if in a part body you create a whole bunch of planes, that's fine. You can do that. But to me, it makes a lot better sense to put all your planes in a geometrical set. That way, I can come back to this and I can see right where everything's at. For example, I can go ahead and add a bunch of planes here. I need to get the right toolbar out here. So remember, points, lines, and planes are always there. There's a lot more icons buried down here. So here's my points, lines, and planes toolbar. It's reference elements. If I bring it out here and turn it sideways, you can see the name. If there's anybody out there that's considering or thinking about doing certification exams, when I drag it out and I have a hold of it, if you hold down Shift, that's how you can change its direction. See, for example, see now it's vertical, now it's horizontal. The certification exam will want you to know what all the icons are named and what toolbar they're under. Alright, so I can pick the planes tool and I can say I want a plane right here, and I can keep going with this. In the other videos we've learned that we can continue this on, and we can add multiples of these. So I can say add 10 if I want. By the way, I'm unchecking new body so it doesn't create another folder inside there. So then look, so then here's a whole lot of planes. I think when I'm teaching classes on this, I get the vibe, the feeling that we do things like this, and students are thinking, they're feeling like, okay, but when the hell am I going to need that many planes, right? When am I going to need all those points or all those lines? And it's really, I mean, I know that you're going to use it, right? So just if you're new to that and you're wondering that, just kind of bear with and trust that this is going to happen. You're going to start developing parts, and you're going to have a ton of reference geometries. Reference geometries are things that exist here, but they're not really part of the actual solid model, the thing that you want. They're things that you have in order to get to the model that you want, or maybe guidelines to stay within, some boundary line, or snapping to something to make sure that the fit is right. So this is going to happen. Now, imagine all these planes here are within the part body. All right, and you start creating more and more of these things, and it's going to become difficult to find where these are. So, for example, say you made all these. Better yet, let me give you a real example. Let's get rid of these. All right, so the underline right here says that I'm in geometrical set number 1. I'm going to right click on part body and I'm going to say define in work object. So now I'm in this folder. Now I'm in part body. So I say, okay, I need a plane. And so I put it out here. And you say, okay, I'm going to build a part off of this plane a little bit. And, there you go, and you pad this up so much, and then you go, oh, hold on a second, I need to have a few more planes. So you pick this and you say, yeah, that plane right there, I need to have, oh yeah, the repeat. Okay, so I want to have a couple more planes. Hit OK. There's my couple more planes, and then you say, okay, yeah, right, okay, good. I wanted to make another shape right here off of this. Pad that out a little bit. And you're doing some more stuff and go, oops, I need another plane. I need one off of this. You can probably already see where I'm going with this. Then you make a thing. Oops, I guess I better make a sketch first, right? Pad this out. And then maybe you need a few more planes. Oops, forgot. I needed a couple planes off of that one right there. And let's make them only 0.1 apart. Hit OK, and I want 3 of those. Okay, so here's what we have. You have this sort of thing. This is pretty indicative of normal life, I guess, right? You start building on it, and then you're like, oh, I need this, and then I need that, and then I need to add this, and do this, right? It probably would have been better if I would have known what I was doing, known what I was going to do. So, and by the way, I don't mean to say know what you're doing like you don't, because we never know. We never know what we're inventing when we're inventing it, what the end goal is going to completely be. But we can build a better structure into this. Ding ding, the geometrical set here. So here's what we have. When I come over here and I hit the plus sign next to part body, you have, well, to me, I'd say we got a friggin' mess. We have a plane that we created. We have a pad, and then we have a few more planes, and a pad, and a plane, and a pad, and a bunch of planes. It's really bad form. That is kind of the gist of this whole entire thing. Bad form. We want to try to avoid that. All right, so here is the next part of this story. So this first little bit was just about thinking organization. Like, wouldn't it be a good idea to say keep all of your MP3s in your computer in a folder named the album, and all the albums are in a folder named the name of the band. That makes great sense, right? Rather than just all your MP3s all just sitting there on your entire hard drive loose, right? So that's kind of the concept. That was sort of what we're talking about in this situation. Now let me add on to this further, making this a little bit more, not so much convenience, but actually almost an imperative. This first block, this first pad 1 here, we built that off of this sketch plane, off of this plane. So a thing that might happen later is you say, hey, I want to move this block to this furthest out plane here. I want to put that onto that plane. And an ability that you have in a lot of the design softwares is that I can pick this sketch, and I can go here to sketch object, and I can say change sketch support. So the support is the plane that it's hanging on. So I could do that. I can click this, and then I could say, okay, don't put the sketch, you know, the child, right, or the parent, excuse me, the parent, don't put the parent of the pad, the thing that the pad is based on, don't put that on this plane. Move it over here to this plane. And that's not a big deal. That's something that we might do from time to time. So I come over here and I go to do this. I hit change sketch support, and I don't see anything. I see I can change it over to here. I can change, well, leave it here, but I can't change it. You know, everything's gone. Everything's gone. So I hit OK, and well, yep, everything's back. So let's check it again. So we go here, and you're like, yeah, what the hell? Maybe I can click it down here. So you go over to the tree, and you try to click, but you have a stop sign. You're like, no, 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 can't do it. It won't let you pick it. So you're like, what the hell is happening here? Well, I can pick the first one. So just to show you, I can pick this one. See, it moves the sketch over there. I hit OK, and now the block is based off of the original plane over there. But I cannot pick these other ones. So here is, you know, big, you know, law of at least CATIA in the specification tree. Part bodies in general here, these with the teal icon, they have a timeline, which if you know, even Photoshop, you know, things have a timeline. I created this, then I created this, then I created this, then I created this. Okay, this is weird and kind of cool. So bear with me here. This pad was created back in time in relation to, say, these planes right here. So if I try to edit this sketch, back when this sketch existed, these weren't here. So it's kind of like a Doctor Who thing, right? We're going back in time, and back here, when I try to change the sketch support, none of that stuff existed. Oh, but look, this plane's here because that was created first. So yeah, you know, I could use that. All right, so what I need to do, what I could do, or wouldn't it be nice if I could do this? I want to take some items and pull them out of time, right? I want to take them out of the timeline and put them in a place to where these things are available to all things throughout history anytime you want. And it doesn't matter, sort of, which order you put these things in, okay? So let me start this over, and I'll show you what I mean. So we get rid of all of this, and we say, okay, well, I need to make a plane. So I get this over here. Check your underline. Always watch that. So I go over here, and I say define and work object, and I say, well, I need a plane, so I'm going to put it off of here, and I need it to come out here, whatever, 0.5. And then I say, well, I need to make a solid on that. I'll try to roughly do what we did before. I say, okay, well, I need to make a thing over here on this. Whoops. Hit that, pad that out, good enough, and say, oh, whoops, you know, same story for, oops, I need to make some more planes, so I want to make a few more off of this. So define this in work object, hit your plane, pick that, and I said, okay, well, I want to make this, let's say 1 inch away. Repeat, and I want to have a few of those. Okay, so there we are. We made a few more. You can already see it shaping up. Define in work object. By the way, if you define the part body in work object, it will add the next item to the very bottom of the list. If you have several things in the list and you underline one in the middle here, it will make it after that object. So anyways, keep that in mind. I'm sure I'll mention it again. So define part body in work object, and then I can pick this plane. I can go into Sketcher, and I can make my shape wherever the hell. Pad that up. Okay, and then said, oopsie doopsie, I needed to make a few more on that plane. Oops, don't forget, got to come over here, define that in work object. Hit here, and then we say maybe 0.1. And we need 6 of those. Define this back in work object, and then maybe somewhere out here, one more shape. Okay. Alright, so here's roughly the same situation as before. Now I have all of my planes in a geometrical set. All of my solid modeling with the parent sketch that goes along with it are in a part body. Great. So, same story. I want to take this pad here and I want to move it. Let's say I want to move it to this plane right here. So now I can right click on the sketch, go to change sketch support, and look, all of my planes are visible. It doesn't matter when I created them, as long as they're in the geometrical set, they're out of the timeline. So I can pick this, the sketch moves up there, I hit OK, and there you go. That is probably one of the biggest reasons to use your geometrical sets. It keeps things very organized, and it puts things outside of the timeline. Okay. The last thing I want to mention here is, since this particular circumstance ended up using lots of planes, every product's different. So if you feel that like you're making a product and you're going to use tons and tons of planes, why don't you take this geometrical set and you gotta, it's kind of convoluted here, but go here, go to feature properties, and name the thing planes. Okay? And then when you go to make points and lines, which is a thing you'll do, go ahead and put those in another one called points, lines, whatever. Now, don't necessarily feel like you have to go with the obvious thing, like if you're making planes, make one called planes. If you're making points, make one called points, right? Well, if the sketch has got 1 point, 6 lines, and 50 planes, well, then why don't you call one planes and put all 50 in there, and the other one just leave it as geometrical set number 7, or call it reference elements or something, right? You don't feel like you have to, you know, follow that, you know, just mandatorily. Okay, so that, I think, yeah, is done with that part of the geometrical sets. So a couple last things I want to mention. Well, one, I was just thinking, maybe I'll keep these ones a little bit shorter, and as I think of more reasons to use these, I'll make like a geometrical set part 2 or something, right? There's a lot of different reasons to use these in a lot of different ways. But the other thing I want to mention is, when you're making your geometrical sets, when you're putting things into geometrical sets, yes, they're outside of the timeline, but the thing you really want to remember is links. What is linked to another thing? And as I say this, I feel that I want to make a video on just links. Paying attention to how one thing gets connected to another thing. Things that get connected to things that you didn't even think were connected. This pad is connected to a sketch. That sketch is connected to this plane. This plane is connected to possibly a different plane. I think it was this plane that we made, and this plane is connected to this plane. Those are your links. So even though these are outside of the timeline, if one of these planes is based upon the surface of another object, that might cause you a great deal of pain later. So designing properly, designing, you know, based upon the right object, and there isn't really a definitive on that because it changes per project. That is the biggest deal on trying to keep yourself organized in this whole idea that, again, I'm calling design theory. And then I think the last thing to point out here is this thing that happens when you start a new sketch. I say I want to go to part design, and you get this window pop up. I feel, you know, talking about geometrical sets, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. You can create a geometrical set right off the bat. Or you could enable hybrid design. This is, you really, you know, want this checked all the time. What hybrid design does, and doesn't do, quite a while ago, greater than 10 years ago, probably more like 13, 14, I don't know, even maybe more than that, you used to create a non-hybrid design, and this is kind of like for certification exam stuff, and maybe, you know, just people like know history. They would force you to create an open body, and an open body became what we call geometrical sets. And they would force you, and you would not be able to put points, lines, and planes in part body. You had to put them in a geometrical set. Okay, and then part bodies were reserved for solid modeling. I remember that when studying for the certification exam and reading the different texts out there, the bias was incredibly strongly towards oh my God, you do not want to use hybrid design, because hybrid design oh my God, lets you put anything in a part body. It doesn't organize it all for you, and so you have to have an open body, which again, that's geometrical set. You have to have the geometrical set here for your points, lines, and planes, because that's the way to stay organized. Now, they were not incorrect. It's just the fact that the way they were saying it, I feel like it was an admission that all of these designers out there were lazy and fairly inept, and they would just never ever design accordingly. So so they're saying don't use hybrid design because it allows you to put points, lines, and planes and bodies, and those have to go into geometrical sets. So I think that that's just really silly there. So you can do whatever you like, but I think anybody nowadays for the past decade and more would say that you would use hybrid design and you stick with that. I don't know, maybe I'll do a video if I get feedback from people that are doing certification stuff. Maybe I'll put one out there on demonstrating how hybrid and non-hybrid design video or models look. Sorry, part bodies. But it's kind of useless to us right now. Save it to say that I like hybrid design because you can do with it whatever you want, and it's up to you to stay organized. You don't want somebody saying that you have to put these tools in these drawers. You have to put this way, and those things have to go over there, because depending on the different situation, you might like to do something differently. So anyways, that is it for this one, I guess. I feel like in the course of working with this, I'm going to come up with something else, and I'm going to want to add to it later. But for now, we'll call that good with geometrical sets. With the design theory videos, I want to continue on talking about things like part naming, links, like I mentioned before. Links are such a big deal. Parent and children. I can even spin this into other things that it's not purely design theory exactly, but the knowledge-ware stuff. The things like design tables and power copies, maybe even some Boolean operations in there. All of these things help you to organize your models in a lot more easy-to-use, functional way. Okay? So thank you very much for watching. That is it for this video.